To understand my framework, the best is that walk you through the way I build it. And first, let's start with the different stakeholders of the financial RetireTech value chain. In the first column, you find the people who need to save for retirement, whether they are employees or independent workers. But also the retirees who spent what they have saved and need to continue to invest their money so that it's not just sitting on a bank account. In the second column, we find the companies who are also contributing to retirement plans, whether these are SMBs or enterprises. As I mentioned in the previous video, the majority of the existing retirement plan schemes enable employers to contribute to a certain amount and benefit from tax advantages. This is why companies are part of this value chain. And last but not least in our value chain, we have the financial advisors and advisory firms who help the individuals and the companies to optimize how they save and spend retirement money. And here, you also have two subsegments, with the independent financial advisors as well as small agencies on one side, and the bigger financial advisory firms on the other. I decided to separate both segments because, from what I saw, it's different startups that address these two subsegments. Now that I have listed the different players in our value chain, let's continue by listing the different pain points that each feels, as well as the solutions that startups bring to address them. We can categorize them in three main buckets: education, investment, and administrative duties/paperwork. Let's start with the people who are working and hence need to save for retirement. For the majority of people, me included, understanding and planning for retirement is not something obvious. Saving for retirement is not a topic which is learned at school or that you discuss a lot with your colleagues, for example. So, in order to address these questions, there are many startups that provide educational content which ranges from static content such as articles and videos to more dynamic approaches like interactive quizzes and calculators. The aim is to teach people how the current system works and show what are the best options for them. For example, on Pension Friend, you can find an interactive calculator where you provide information about your situation, such as your working status and how much you earn, and the tool will simulate your pension. Of course, this is bundled with a bunch of articles and guides that you can read in order to learn more about the different options available to you. Once you have learned about these different options, the next pain point is to actually start saving money, aka how much and where you should save your money, as well as in which assets you should invest. This is also where startups in the financial RetireTech space come to help. Many provide financial advice and investment opportunities to their users. They enable people to send their money at the right place, since it's usually highly regulated, and they also often provide investment recommendations, such as selections of ETFs. For instance, on Caravel, you can find different investment vehicles with different approaches and risk profiles. When you click on a plan, you can find more information such as the fee amount, the average performance, or the composition of the funds. Another set of pain points for many of us is around administrative duties and paperwork. Which form should I fill to benefit from these tax advantages? How should I declare what I save to the administration when I file my taxes? Which document, such as payslips, should I keep in order to access my money once I reach the age of retirement, etc., etc. For these pain points, you can also find startups that help people fulfill their administrative tasks through easy-to-use web interfaces. Very few people like to do these tasks, so there is value in lowering the friction and automating many of these duties. Just to show the wide spectrum of paperwork and admin tasks that managing your retirement plan can entail, it's interesting to look at a company called Manifest, which product helps people consolidate their retirement accounts. The idea is that throughout your career, you'll probably change jobs a couple of times, and you can end up with several 401k accounts open, each corresponding to an account your employee previously opened for you. Consolidating this money and optimizing the transfers is a time-consuming task that Manifest offers to do automatically for you. Now let's move to retirees. Once you've retired, the need for education still exists as different regulations apply to the money you saved. Also, now that you're tapping into the money you put to the side during these long years, it's better not to spend it unwisely. And same for investing your money. It's not because you're now retired that you should stop making your money work. You still need advice on how to keep investing what you put to the side. And finally, it's not because you are retired that there's no paperwork to complete. It depends obviously on each country and regulation, but you often still need to fill many forms at that stage. And similar to what we saw for employees, in terms of solutions to these pain points, several startups provide advice and educational content specifically to retirees. But they also help them invest their money according to their needs and the risk profile they want to adopt, as well as ease many of the administrative burden and paperwork that must be done at that stage of your life. Retireable is a good example of this kind of product, as it offers an almost full-stack platform that lets retirees access fiduciary advisors for personalized advice, invest their money in different risk profiles, minimize taxes through specific schemes, and monitor what they spend thanks to their branded debit card. Let's move to the next stakeholder in our value chains, employers. As I mentioned in the previous video, employers are full part of this financial RetireTech value chain because through the different retirement saving plans available, such as the 401k, they can contribute to their employees' retirement savings and benefit from tax advantages. From an HR perspective, it's also a great tool to attract talents and keep employees. In terms of education, employers often need to educate their employees about the benefits of putting money to the side and how, as an employer, they can contribute to it. This is why several B2B products in the space provide branded internal portals that businesses put in place so that their employees can access articles, interactive calculators, and all the other types of content that we already spoke about in the previous section. These startups provide businesses all the content they produce as well as the web interface as a service. Employers don't need to do it themselves. When it comes to investing, since employers can contribute to their employees' retirement savings, there's a lot of constraints around the type of investment that can be made, where the money should go, on which type of accounts, etc., etc. Once again, it's a pain point that several startups such as Epsor address by providing a compliant infrastructure so that employers can contribute safely, as well as sometimes a portfolio of investment funds that employees can choose from. Finally, when it comes to the administrative duties, obviously there's a lot of regulation going around these topics, especially for the employers. Once a company decides to contribute to a 401k or other plans, they need to make sure that they stay compliant. This is why you have several products, such as human interest or guidelines, that provide HR teams with tools to automate various tasks by connecting to their payroll system. Once these products are connected to the payroll system, they make it easier to handle record keeping, to create reports, to prepare, sign and fill tax forms, etc., etc. The last type of players that I want to focus on are financial advisors and advisory firms. So far, I spoke mainly about startups digitizing the space. But at the moment, the majority of the market is composed of local independent advisors and small agencies, as well as some bigger advisory firms. Most of these businesses are service-oriented and answer all the pain points that I just covered, whether it's educating people by giving them personal advice or helping them invest their money in the right investment vehicles, as well as help them with paperwork. The big difference is that they do this work mostly manually. And what the new wave of startup is trying to do is to digitize these existing financial advisors. But another approach, instead of trying to replace these advisors, is to provide them with software that helps them modernize their operations and scale their existing businesses. Basically, selling them pick and shovel software. A big part of their job is to provide tailored advice to their customers. It's usually a very manual process as it requires call with their customers, to collect information from them, and then finally to share their personalized recommendations. It's a time-consuming process that does not scale. As a consequence, a couple of startups want to provide to these financial advisors the same digital tools that startups offer in terms of education. Whether it's a web portal containing articles and guides, but also interactive quizzes, retirement calculators, risk profile builders, etc., etc. All the tools that help advisors make the education process as self-service as possible so that they can focus mainly on building personalized recommendations. A good example of such tool is Silver, which provides credit unions with a white label education platform where people can access the most up-to-date financial education with classes and guides, as well as an interactive and personalized retirement calculator. Silver is taking care of the platform and the content so that financial institutions can easily provide this to their customers. In terms of investment, I'm not going to dig too much into this category, as there is a lot of software sold to financial advisors and firms to help them manage the investments they make. It ranges from portfolio management tools, trading applications, investment analytics, or financial planning software. It would probably require a dedicated video. Finally, in terms of administrative tasks and paperwork, these players obviously have a lot to do. It's definitely a critical pain point for them, and similar to the investment part, there are already quite a lot of software companies which help financial advisors and firms stay compliant. It's worth noting that many of the solutions that I just spoke about are all-around platforms that cover both the investment management component as well as the compliance one. But it's also worth noting that there's an increasing number of specialized products whose aim is to provide more modern software to these targets, kind of the unbundling of the existing platforms. It's the case, for example, of Pontera, which specifically built a software that enables financial advisors to manage the held away accounts of their customers in a compliant way.